What's happening, gamers? This is RPG here. It's March 30th, 2018, and welcome to RPG Side-Quests. If you follow me on Twitch, and of course if you follow me here on YouTube, then you may have noticed that I've been doing a live stream series on Trails of Cold Steel, the Legend of Heroes IP, which deals with the Erebonian Saga, which we got Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2 over here in the West, while Japan has Trails of Cold Steel 1, 2, and 3, and they are getting the fourth game called Trails of Cold Steel 4, the End of Saga, which is slated to release sometime this year. At the end of this year, sometime around the end of this year to be exact. But yes, if you have been following the Trails of Cold Steel games, then you have been in for some really great JRPG goodness. And kind of sad to say that the whole arc of the Erebonian Empire is coming to an end. Now, I still haven't heard anything from XC Games, or we still haven't heard anything from XC Games saying if they are going to localize, or when are they going to localize Trails of Cold Steel 3, since that game has already released in Japan. But hopefully, like I said when I talked about Ys 4 Memories of Celceta coming to the PC, that one of those three announcements is a localization for the PlayStation 4 version, as well as possibly a PC port for Trails of Cold Steel 3. Now, Trails of Cold Steel 4, like I said, is going to be the last game that's going to take place in the Erebonian Empire, or what they call the Erebonian story arc, or the Erebonian Saga. Now, we don't know that much about Trails of Cold Steel 4, except we got a little bit of tidbits about the game earlier this year, where we got late last year, when they showed off a screenshot of Rean Schwarzer. Looks like he had the red eyes where that ogre blood within his system was kicking in or taking over his persona. And that made a lot of people get the impression whether or not if he's going to be the main protagonist, or if he's not, and this whole story is going to revolve around members of both old and new Class 7 going to save their fellow comrade or fellow teacher, whichever side you go for. Because if you play Trails of Cold Steel 3, then you know that Rean Schwarzer, the main protagonist, is the new professor of, or is a professor of the new Class 7, after the old Class 7 that we come to know from both Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2 already graduated. So, whether or not if you play as Rean Schwarzer or not in Trails of Cold Steel 4, or if he's going to be the main protagonist, is still uncertain at this point. But Nihon Falcom actually unleashed the first details about Trails of Cold Steel 4, and they introduced five of the characters that are making a return. So, let's go ahead and open up the web browser here on my phone, and let's take a look at the details of what they have to show. And of course, there are screenshots that they show off of the characters, as well as some of the screenshots of the gameplay. And they introduced 5 characters who are returning characters from new Class 7, and I'll be talking about them here. And this article I got was from Gematsu, not Siliconera or DualShockers, so here we go. Falcom has released the first information and screenshots of The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 4, the End of Saga, introducing the game's returning characters from Class 7 of Thor's Military Academy 2 Branch School. And also, I want to give a disclaimer that what I'm about to tell you is potential spoilers, so if you have not played Trails of Cold Steel 1, 2, or 3 yet, or if you intend to play those games, then please by all means don't click on this video, because I just hope you don't want to be spoiled or disappointed with what they had to show. So I'm just giving you a head warning, and of course Gematsu also gave this head warning too, so just thought I'd let you know on that. But here are the details below. And they introduced one of the characters, Juna Crawford. She is the gal with the pink hair who was a part of New Class 7, and she is a lively girl with a high sense of justice from the old Crossbell State, and the leader-esque presence of New Class 7. So the leader-esque presence of New Class 7 maybe giving the hint or indication that she could possibly be the main solo protagonist, or the main protagonist of Trails of Cold Steel 4, based on the first information that we're getting. And, you know, it highly seems so, because, you know, with the Trails of Cold Steel games, like I said, Rean Schwarzer has been the main protagonist. But it seems like that may highly be unlikely in this game. She originally set her sights on becoming a police officer due to her admiration for the Special Support Section, but various circumstances resulted in her transferring to the 2nd Military School, or the 2nd Branch School of Thor's Military Academy, or 2 Branch School, or do they call it 2nd? I guess they call it the 2nd, or just 2nd, if they're going by the Roman numeral 2. When she first entered the school, she did not trust the Empire that is an aggressor nation to her hometown, nor the Ashen Chevalier, because, you know, Rean Schwarzer was given that nickname after he was the hero of the Erebonian Civil War at the end of Trails of Cold Steel 2, and they call him the Ashen Chevalier. And that is the Empire's hero, but grew to overcome those difficulties with her friends in New Class VII, and resolved to seek out a future where her hometown and the Empire can work hand in hand. However, as a result of quote-unquote the Great Twilight, which spread a curse all across the Empire, her fulfilled school life completely changed. Awaiting Juna was a serious and harsh reality. So I guess what it meant by the Great Twilight or the spread of a curse, I'm guessing that is in relation to Rean Schwarzer having the ogre blood within his spirit that's taking over him, where you see him in that picture where he's all bonded up in chains and his eyes are all glowing red. Kurt Vander. The second son of the Vanders, a military family of the Empire, a prodigy in dual swordsmanship, and a handsome young man with an overly serious personality. He lost sight of his goal after the Vander family was relieved of its duty of protecting the royal family and enrolled at the second branch school, rather than the main school where he originally planned to enroll. At first he doubted the ability of Rean, who is lionized as the Ashen Chevalier. But during his activities in New Class VII, he learned from Rean, who faced him with sincerity as both a swordsman and an instructor, and grew to become an honest person. After the curse spreads across the Empire, Kurt awakens in an unknown village, and not more is given to that character. Alright, the next character is Altina Orion, a girl with a lack of emotions who uses the combat shell Climb equals Solias. I'll just put the name of the ability or the combat shell right here so you know exactly what I'm talking about. She's a member of the Imperial Intelligence Agency who goes by the codename Black Rabbit, and who stood by the Ashen Chevalier for more than a year as Rean's support and monitor under his request of the agency. After that, Rean became a professor at the second branch school, and Altina herself accepted a mission to enter the school. During her activities as a student of Class VII, her bonds with Rean and the other students gradually deepened, and her emotions came to surface. When the disaster occurred in the Imperial capital, she tried to sacrifice herself in order to protect her friends, but instead of herself, someone important to her was killed in action. Altina, who thought life would never be the same, sank to the depths of despair. Muse Egret, a girl characterized by elegant and bewitching behavior, born to the noble family of Count Egret in the western part of the Empire. She was once enrolled in the esteemed St. Astrea Girls' School, but when Thor's military academy was made into a branch school, she transferred to the second branch school. During her daily activities as a top-class student, she showed glimpses of mystery and bottomless talent, but her true identity is Mudine Usaif du Cayenne, or Cyan, or however they say that, the niece of Duke Cyan, or Cayenne, who caused the Imperial Civil War and the next Duke in line. She formed the quote-unquote Viceland Resurgent Army, which gathered the strength of the noble forces as a power against the Osborne camp, including the Imperial government and Imperial Army. After leaving the second branch school, she starts making movements behind the scenes with the Golden Rakshasa, Aurelia and Azure Abyss, Clotilde. Like I said, I really don't know, so if I'm pronouncing this wrong, then I do apologize. But anyway, finally, last but not least, Ash Carbide. A delinquent youth raised in the slums who is rough and brazen, but possesses incredible talent in every field. He enrolled in Class 8 at the second branch school, but transferred to Class 7 halfway through, and while being influenced by Rean and his classmates, discovered his own path forward. Meanwhile, the rampage of the detestable curse of the Empire caused the major event known as the Assault on Emperor Eugene III, and Ash was detained. It seems that he was rescued by the Viceland Resurgent Army, led by General Aurelia, who left the second branch school, but his whereabouts after that are unknown. But anyway, that's all the details that they have available for Trails of Cold Steel 4. So yeah, it makes me very curious how they're going to end off Trails of Cold Steel in fashion, because like I said, that Trails of Cold Steel 4 is going to be the last game in the Trails of Cold Steel, or in this tetralogy of games that center around the Erebonian Empire. Now, like I said, hopefully that Xseed will get around to getting Trails of Cold Steel 3 as one of their games that they're localizing out of the 3 games that they announced for localization, or that they're currently working on right now, next in line to Ys 4, The Memories of Celceta, coming to PC. But, like I said, we'll just have to see. But hopefully Trails of Cold Steel 4 will end off that tetralogy in great fashion, and then I assume that we will be getting to the next country after the Kingdom of Liberal, the country of Crossbell, as well as the Kingdom or the Empire of Erebonia. So whatever next that they have in line to continue the anthology of what is all going on in that particular IP, we'll just have to wait and see after this tetralogy is finally finished. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the comments of the last two videos. And of course, I talked about Square Enix starting a new game studio with AAA game development that's being headed up by Hajime Tabata. And this is what Shadow Wolf Rising from YouTube had to comment. Maybe this means more Star Ocean. And like that one report said, they reboot it cause 3 kind of backed them into a corner. Also, make it more like 1 through 3 and less like 4 and 5. But make it not take place on an underdeveloped planet. Seriously, you set it in a sci-fi setting and don't use that? Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from when you're wanting a new Star Ocean game to take place in like an advanced civilization outside of an underdeveloped planet, but seeing as how the Star Ocean games always had a vibe of both sci-fi and fantasy, I can see that Tri-Ace is still going to continue to take place or make their games take place on underdeveloped planets unless they, decide to change into a different setting for a change of pace. But when it comes to this new AAA studio, Luminous Productions, I really can't say that they would get a hand in developing any new Star Ocean games, because like I said, Tri-Ace still holds the rights to create the games, even though Square Enix still logistically have the rights of the IP. But if there's a new Star Ocean game that needs to be developed, then I'm sure that Tri-Ace would get first dibs on it. But if they decide to do a cross-collaboration between themselves and Luminous Productions, then, anything's possible. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the comment from the last video where I talked about Dragon Quest XI's Western release details. And this one comment, it actually comes from, let me take a look here. It comes from YouTube user Jeffrey Foreman, and he says, "I'm so ready. I hope it's not the patchwork nightmare that Final Fantasy 15 was." And I don't think you have anything to worry about that, Jeffrey, because Dragon Quest XI, when compared to Final Fantasy 15, is a more complete experience than what you got with Final Fantasy 15, because Dragon Quest XI is not going to be a games-as-a-service type of deal, whereas Final Fantasy 15 is, so I don't think you have anything to worry about on that. So, but if they did decide to make it a games-as-a-service type of deal, even after the game's localization, then you can imagine that a lot of Dragon Quest fans, and a lot of RPG nuts, and PlayStation 4 and PC and Nintendo Switch owners are going to be very pissed, but I don't think they're going to even do anything like that, because when it comes to Armor Project, or the team that consists of Yuji Horii, Koichi Sugiyama, and Akira Toriyama, they're not going to, doubt their fans, and they're not going to make them feel betrayed if, they don't want to betray them if they took that type of practice, and they're not going to even do that anytime soon. So with Dragon Quest XI, I assure you, you're getting the complete experience. Anyway, guys, I hope you like what I had to say about this side quest video. So if you like what you see, then be sure to rate this video, as well as leaving your feedback down in the comments. Any feedback or question that any comment or question that you leave for me in this video, it will get featured in Monday's video, and your YouTube channel will get featured in the description. Also, if you like what you see, then be sure to hit that subscribe button underneath this video, as well as the bell that's right next to the subscribe button, so that way you'll be notified of the next video that's being posted by me, because more support from you guys will mean that more content is coming from me in the future that you guys are not going to find anywhere else. Anyway, guys, I hope you all have a great weekend. I'm not going to be live streaming Trails of Cold Steel tomorrow, but I will on Sunday, so I will see you then. But anyway, guys, I'll see you next time, and this is Double RPG signing off by saying Godspeed and game on, gamers. Peace out!